Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom, back with another Disney Lorcana Market update video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Reddit thread. We're going to take a look at some of the first chapter booster boxes that are available on TCG Play right now. I think some are listed for sub 200, so it's a kind of random decrease there or retrace for the first chapter booster boxes. We're also going to take a look at some of the PSA pop reports, some really early returns on Chapter 4, kind of see our set 4, see what the grade gem mint looks like. We're going to take a look at that golden auction, the golden Mickey. I'm very curious where that's going to end. But I did want to start today's video with this Reddit thread. I think it speaks a lot to the conversations we've been having over the last couple days in regards to the Rudy video. A lot of the Magic community kind of coming out and I don't want to say a lot. It's probably a very vocal minority, but some people coming from the Magic community kind of bashing Lorcana, letting me know that it's going to zero, letting me know that it's dead, letting me know that $115 for an Into the Inklands box on Amazon is still considered a dump. Which I vehemently disagree with, but the comments have continued to come in that Lorcana is in fact dead, and so I thought that this thread was a really good, let's look at what the people are saying. So this is on the Lorcana Reddit. Dumb Gum posted, "How is the player base today? Quitting Yu-Gi-Oh, looking to start a new TCG. He specifically lives on the West Coast, and he just kind of wants to know, is this all being like hoarded and put away in closets, or are people actually playing the game?" So let's go through some of the feedback here. This person says, "West Coast, SoCal specifically, has a huge scene, and I know my in-laws play pretty regularly up in the Pacific Northwest. Love that, getting the parents involved. My parents are definitely not cool enough to play Lorcana." Let's see here. This person says, "Think that'll be a big growth, not really relevant to the player scene. Kind of feel like everyone had Pokemon cards back in the day. That's not really relevant. Picked up in Phoenix, huge player base and growing. Switched from Yu-Gi-Oh to Lorcana about 2 months ago and haven't looked back. Lorcana feels fresh and fun and is super easy to learn. You'll get destroyed by the former Magic players at first, but once you get the hang of deck building and what each color likes to do, you'll be having a blast in no time. I'm in Ohio, and as far as our region goes, every shop I frequent seems to have a growing player base. Set championships this month have been a ton of fun as well. Can't recommend jumping ship and making the switch enough. Good luck." Top player in our area is an ex-Yu-Gi-Oh player, plays top 32 in Atlanta. It's crazy how good some of these players are. The gameplay feel compared to Yu-Gi-Oh? Are there interactions? Blah, blah, blah. This is kind of irrelevant. I'm in Riverside, and there are at least 2 shops within 20 minutes to me that have weekly leagues. Georgia, pretty good. Scene growing. We just had the tournament in Bacum. 2,000 players, more than most YCS. So yeah, the player base is huge. We have a nice player base on the East Coast. I remember the days where I tried White Shorts, Psy. That was a nightmare. Florida, the scene is already big when I entered it 6 months ago. It's grown a lot since. Stores are mostly capped on weekly league nights, and forget about special tournaments like Ursula's Challenge." And that goes with a lot of the sentiment that I see on Twitter, that I see on Instagram of the stores that I follow, as well as my local LGSs. As you guys know, I'm not a player. I have 3 young kids. I do not have the time to go to organized play events. I would definitely love to. I have extreme FOMO seeing these people go to these tournaments. Like I really do love Lorcana. I played it a lot on Pixelborn when I could, but I just don't have the time, quite frankly, to be able to get out and attend these events in person, go to these league nights. So I'm very jealous. But I see a lot of really, really strong performance in terms of set championships selling out. Organized play nights growing, right? You see the just on this thread, like, these people have no incentive to be misleading here. This person just asked a genuine question, and they're kind of talking about all these different pockets around the area. Now, you do have some people, like this person said, "Hype is dead in my area. Star Wars Unlimited is the new hotness, growing bigger with its set 2 release. I recommend playing whatever you like the most. Local player base is small for it." So, and there's definitely pockets where Lorcana probably isn't as popular as it is others. I think overall you can get a sentiment of it's growing very rapidly. Obviously, there's going to be some areas where it's not as much. You have this person who said the player base is definitely going to plateau soon. Like, this is like a lot of the people in my comments. Like, this person is probably one of the people commenting on my videos. They just kind of like randomly say like, yeah, it's gonna die soon, and there's nothing really to back it up. Like there has to be fundamentals that go along with that, and you can't just say because there's troves on the shelves at my Target and there didn't used to be. Like yeah, they printed more to get the cards more available because the player base is growing. There's more demand, so they increase supply. Like you don't that doesn't mean the game is dying. Like you can go into any store in my area and there's going to be Pokemon products from wall to wall. That does not mean Pokemon's dying. That just means there's enough for the demand. Same goes for Lorcana. Just because a trove sits there for a couple months rather than getting scalped immediately, that's not a bad thing. That means the ecosystem is healthy. That means that people can get their hands on cards. That means that new people can get exposed to the brand, get exposed to the game, and learn about Lorcana. Just because that there's, I couldn't find any troves and now set 4 there's 9 on the shelf. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. They will get bought up, right? They definitely will get purchased. Just at this current moment, there's availability on the shelves. There's restocks available. That's okay. That does not mean that the game is dead. And you really need to, like we did yesterday, we took a step back, looked at the pricing of the sealed stuff. We looked at the pricing of some of the individual cards. We looked at the upcoming events. Like, there's nothing that's pointing towards any sort of like player base getting stale, player base getting old. Like if you go out and truly look, like you will find that these events are selling out, and that there's an insane demand, right? And so this thread was just a good illustration of that. Not to belabor the point too much, I think anyone who has the mindset that Lorcana is dying or is dead, they're the people with the blinders on. They for whatever reason think that like for Magic to succeed or Pokemon or whatever different TCG you're in, like Disney has to fail for their respective hobby to succeed, and that's not the case. I think that that's a very poor mindset. I think that's very short term and small minded. At the end of the day, Lorcana succeeding is good for every other TCG. Same with Pokemon succeeding is going to be good for Lorcana and etc. It is not a dog eat dog world. It is very much everyone can eat. All of these games existing and having people that maybe bounce back and forth and bring in new people into the markets, like that's all good signs, right? Just because you like Morcana doesn't mean you have to think Magic's gonna fail. I don't think Magic's gonna fail. I don't think Pokemon, whatever, One Piece is gonna fail. I feel like a lot of people compare One Piece and Lorcana because they're kind of the hot up and comers, if you will. And I hope One Piece does good, right? Like I said, and I've said this several times, I have a very young family. We connect. My 2-year-old son can open a pack of Lorcana with me, see the Elsa card and know what it is. He can see the Maui card and know what it is. I'm not gonna open One Piece and see a waifu, doing what they do. Like, no thanks. Like, I'm good. But that's me. That doesn't mean that One Piece is bad, right? I hope that they succeed. I have no hate, no shame. A lot of people are saying that there's not that One Piece you're getting limited on what you can buy. I have news for you. That's just because the supply isn't there. They just have not expanded as fast as Lorcana has. One Piece, the company that makes it is a Bandai. They will print as much as they can, as much as you're willing to buy. They just aren't ready for that yet. Like their supply and demand is very easy. Put yourself in these companies' shoes. They want to sell as many boxes as possible. That's their job. They will do that for the end of time. Pokemon does that. Magic does that. Every company does that. They don't want to put limits on how much you can buy of their product. That's bad, right? That's bad business. So just a quick little anecdote on One Piece. I had someone tell me that I can't buy One Piece, but I can buy as much Lorcana as you want or as they want. I got news for you. That'll change in the future. Bandai, whoever prints One Piece, will get to the supply demand equilibrium, where it'll be a much healthier landscape and there won't be as much free tendies, but it will lead to a much healthier game and much healthier player base. So I digress there. That's enough with the Lorcana is dying stuff, though. I'm over it. But that Reddit thread was timely, and it was just cool to see everyone talking about, whether it's Georgia, the East Coast, Phoenix, the Pacific Northwest, the I'm in the Midwest. I can confirm that it's growing here. We had the people in SoCal and talking about kind of the West Coast. Like, there's pockets where it's dead for sure, right? I know that there's a thriving community up in Minnesota as well in that area. One person talked about Ohio. So, look, wherever you're at, you can probably find somewhere to play it, right? It might not be as big as it is in other areas, but overall the state of the game is very healthy, and you don't need any more evidence than looking at the challenge events. Are they selling out? If so, how quick? Does it take weeks? Does it take months? No, it takes seconds. It takes minutes. There's demand. There's people that want to play the game. There's a huge following behind this game. Look no further than that. This takes us into the Mickey that is at Golden Auction. So this is part of the, what are they calling it? It's the like the King of Collectibles auction. King of Collectibles auction. It's the final week. It ends in 4 days. Our Mickey is currently sitting at, where'd it go? We've got another Mickey. We've got a PSA Mickey in the auction, and then we have the Beckett Mickey. Where'd it go? Did I mess up? Did I not click on the King of Collectibles here? Let's see. There it is. I don't know. I'm clicked on the wrong thing somehow. We are currently sitting at 18,000, 21 or 22 with buyer's premium. It's been at this number for a while. My initial forecast, I think I said somewhere between like 25. I think I put a wide range on it. I said like 25,000 to like 50,000. Obviously, this is very uncharted territory. We know the winners of the first challenge down in Atlanta were asking for 75,000. That was aggressive, right? That was very optimistic. I was strongly advising against that price. I think that the 25 range is definitely within, a reasonable expectation. Maybe it gets up to 30, 35. I think some people were like confused at this. I mean, this is just a Beckett 10. So like a Beckett 10 is better than a PSA 10. In terms of like the standards to get a Beckett 10, but this is not the black label Beckett where it's truly a perfect card. If it were a black label Beckett, this might creep up to that $75,000 range, but it's just a Beckett 10. It's a BGS gold label 10. So it's probably going to be somewhere in that, 25 to 35 range. I don't know. Definitely not going to get to the 75K number. Not going to get any sort of like 100,000 plus number. And the reason for that is there's going to be a lot of these available, right? It's serialized out of 500. So there's plenty available. This is number 234. A cool anecdote about this specific card is it is the winner from the very first challenge event. So this was his card. It was 234. So he's technically like the first, winner of this card in a sense, right? There were 8 given out at the event, but he was the winner. So this might have some, anecdotally, just some increased value or prestige around it, right? There's a story that can be told there. But when you look at the Mickeys in general, when you look at PSA, every Mickey that's been sent there has gotten a PSA 10. We've seen several CGC pristine 10s. We see the Beckett 10. And it was rumored that they're serialized out of 500, but they took the best ones, kept them, and then disposed of, discarded, whatever the rest of them, the ones that came out poor quality from the printer. I personally, I've said many times, I hate that. If a card is serialized out of 500, there needs to be 500 in circulation, at least at the beginning. It can't be serialized out of 500 and then you put 220 on the market or whatever it is. Like I think that defeats the purpose of a serialized card. But that has been rumored that is the case. It would appear that the cards so far have been very good quality. With every one we've seen has pretty much been a gem mint grade, whether it's from BGS, CGC, or PSA. So these cards are definitely good quality. That's another hindrance to this specific Beckett 10. Who's to say that if these PSA 10s weren't sent to Beckett, they would have got a 10 as well? It would appear that these cards are getting a gem mint grade a lot of the time. One quick side note or caveat, there's not too much to report on the prize cards in terms of grading yet. Most of them are grading pretty well. With the one exception, the non-foil Rapunzel is grading pretty poorly, sub 50% grade, which for Lorcana, that's what we're looking for a decent opportunity long term. Now, obviously, there's still a ton of these cards that are going to be hitting the market, but this is one that I'm going to be looking to add some PSA 10s to my collection once we get to the end of the year, early 2025, as we've got probably the end of the supply of these that are going to hit the market. This is a card that I'll be looking to hit or to add to my collection in a PSA 10 because it does appear to be hard to grade. 43 or 44 submissions thus far. Very small sample size, nothing to draw any conclusions yet. We'll need some data, but just a quick caveat that this does appear to be one that is grading pretty roughly in the short term here that we've had the availability to look at these cards. A couple more grading things, and then we'll talk about the first chapter here, guys, which once again is seeing some cheap price points. So more to come on that. When we look at my buddy Stitch, one of my favorite cards in Lorcana, we are currently up to 253 PSA 10s, 547 graded in total. So this remains a grail card for me long term. I think once again, if we're going to end at sub 500 of these cards in a PSA 10, I think that gives it some really good long-term potential and long-term growth. And it's just a freaking awesome card. First trophy card that was ever given out in Lorcana. A lot of provenance to this card, and it's a gorgeous card. Nicholas Cole did a fantastic job on this card, the artist that drew it. And I am a huge fan of his work. And there's only 253 tins in existence thus far. It gets a gem int grade sub 50% of the time. Very excited about the prospects of this card long term. I've said it many times. I'll continue to say it. Yell it into the shadows here. And then for Ursula's Return, we don't have a lot of data yet. There are a couple that are sticking out that might be a little bit harder to grade. Now, these aren't the most collectible cards, so I don't know if it's necessarily something that I'm going to be looking to like add to my collection, right, or something that I'm looking to make a play on. But the Cinderella is grading somewhat hard in this near term. From set 4, Ursula's Return, 14 10s, 11 9s, and 8s. All in 25 graded. So, you're looking at like a 55-60% gem mint grade there. The Minnie Mouse is actually sub 50% for right now. 19 submitted. That speaks, once again, these are all extremely small sample sizes. Not too much to take away, but we can just kind of see some early trends here. The Minnie being one that is pretty hard. A card that definitely, from its peak of selling for $800, RIP to the person that paid that. Quit FOMOing if you paid $800 for an enchanted Minnie Mouse. It does look like it's going to be hard to grade. Early sample size or small sample size, very early here. Sisu's another one that is hard, wherever that went. Not the most collectible card, so not something that I think is one that we definitely need to rush out by any stretch of the word. Where'd it go? I completely overlooked it here. There it is. As soon as I type it in, I see it. But it was not too bad on the grading front. 16 10s, 15 9s, all in it's about a 50%. And then there was a couple others that weren't too bad. The Queen, the other one, 11 and 10. So some hard to grade cards. It would appear in set 4, but we need some more time. We need some more grades. Honestly, we need the values of these to get further down that out of the meta stage where they start to become more of collectibles. Talking like 6 to 12 months from now to start to see these get graded. Right now, they're still being pulled, every day, right? And so the price is staying down, so there's not too much of a premium to grade them. That's why you see such low numbers in terms of what has been graded yet on the pop report. So we need some more data there. And then to close us out today, guys, last but not least, we are seeing some low listings on the first chapter that kind of came out of nowhere. Yesterday, it was, I think we had some around like 220 was kind of our lowest. Good box. It does look like the ones that, wow, just from me refreshing the page, all the ones under 200 have been bought. So I did not have that page up very long at all, like 10 minutes. And this kind of speaks to my point. If you see boxes like that, definitely don't have any sort of concern. Don't have any sort of like FOMO, like, oh, we're going to the bottom. It's always good to check what's going on eBay and to kind of counterbalance what the greater, wider market is saying about these prices as well. First chapter box on eBay, lowest buy it now is 220. Which goes in line with what we were seeing on TCG Player yesterday. There were some boxes for $199. That person they had listed 8, I believe, or maybe it was the one at $189. I can't remember, but they had listed a bunch of boxes, but those have since gone up. We're looking at a 203 floor, which is still a very good price for set 1. I know when we look at our EVs, just got it for today. We are looking at, let's see here, 209 is expected value. That includes enchanteds. 209 expected value on a chapter 1 box. So if you pull an enchanted, you're obviously going to do much better than 201, right, that you paid for the box. If you don't pull an enchanted, then it's probably going to be somewhere around like 140, 150. But the expected EV of a chapter 1 box right now is around 209. I know some people asked about this data. I did do some more digging into it about who was providing it. He gave me a ton of screenshots. I trust that it's accurate. It's accurate enough in a range where I feel comfortable. Another person on Twitter actually did a very similar exercise. It was funny how some of this stuff comes in waves. As I'm talking about EVs, Lorcana Finance yesterday did a thread about with Lorcana boxes under 100, does it make sense to crack for a profit? And he came up to relatively the exact same numbers that I shared yesterday, within a few dollars of range there. So I feel really good about the EV numbers. Today it's 209 for the first chapter, 126 for the flood for set 2, 118 for set 3, and 85 for set 4. So those are your expected values today based on the current TCG player pricing. And that assumes a 1 in 96 enchanted pull rate, and it only calculates cards that are worth 35 cents or higher. So that is the update on that front today. And like I said, I feel, he doesn't want me to share too much data. He doesn't want to be publicly known. But that's like I said, I did some additional follow up. It's very well vetted. It does assume the expected enchanted pull rate, which I think can probably fluctuate, but I feel comfortable with the 96 1 in 96 pull rate there. I will say, bad news for me. I opened 3 Ursula return boxes yesterday, no enchanted, so that puts me at I pulled 1 enchanted out of roughly 250 to 300 packs. So Ursula's return has proven to be my worst set from a pull rate perspective. I'm getting crushed by Ursula's return, and it's so funny because it's one of my favorite sets from a collector standpoint. I think the characters that they chose for the enchanteds were really good. Some could have been better. I think the artworks could have been better. But overall, I think I just really like the set from a collector standpoint, and I just cannot pull an enchanted to save my life. So fun little caveat there. That is going to be it for today, guys. We'll be back with another video soon. Obviously, let me know. I'm curious where you guys think the Mickey is gonna end there. Once again, I think somewhere, to narrow it down, I think 25 to 30 is probably somewhere within that range. Nothing too crazy. Definitely not the 75 number that they were asking for in the beginning. But that's kind of where I feel it's going to land. So please let me know where you think it's going to land at. And other than that, we'll be back with another video soon.